Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm driving, so obviously I can't show you what I've been doing, but I'm going to try my best to describe and tell a story about what I've been up to and what else needs doing. So I've been quite busy. I've been trying to stick to some sort of order, but with work and drying times for paint and filler and stuff, I've been back and forward to different jobs. What I generally try to do is follow a to-do list on my whiteboard, and then I've got two types of jobs to do, like a big job which is going to take a few days, and then a little job which I can tick off. Hopefully I try and tick off like one a day, just to keep myself motivated that I'm doing something and haven't got a list of jobs never ending. It's just good to wipe off a list, just to show I'm doing something and completing things. So the last video was a towel rail. It's actually a towel loop. No issues there. I think I probably got to fill the old holes maybe, or at least paint around it, but I'm leaving that until I paint the bathroom. There's no rush to paint the bathroom just yet, so I have got bathroom paint. It's only a small little wall in the bathroom, the rest is tiled and that new aqua board, and a small little ceiling, but I have got white bathroom paint, and I can't remember what colour it is for the wall, but it's like a yellowy colour to match the yellowy brown tiles. So I've been mainly doing curtains and curtain poles and blinds for a couple of days. Each bedroom have got a new curtain pole, so I had to replace the old curtain poles because they were old, they were knackered. I bought new ones. While I was taking the wooden ones down that were there, they hadn't screwed them together properly. The brackets were supposed to hold them onto the wall. We're supposed to have 3 screws per bracket. They only used 2. And then the holes they used, sometimes they used a wood screw into the wall, sometimes there's a wall plug or no wall plug, but it's just the wrong fixings for the wrong job. It was barely holding on, so it had to go. I've done all 3 bedrooms. I've done the living room, the bathroom's got a blind, the kitchen's got a blind, the dining room and the kitchen's got a little blind, and the utility room's got a blind. I won't go into detail about all of them, but basically on, for example, my bedroom, my master bedroom, the centre hole, when I measured the centre of the window, their holes weren't in the centre, so obviously I used exactly perfect centre. The end holes, on the box for the curtain pole, it does recommend a distance out from the window and up from the window, 5 to 10 centimetres or 15 to 30 I think is out. So I didn't want to go too far out, because then you're left with less gather on your curtain when it's open and closed. And I wasn't really sure how much gather I was going to have, because these weren't custom made curtains. These were sort of in a sale rail in the shop to a rough guess size, so they work, but they weren't tailor-made. They weren't perfect for the window, so I didn't want to go too wide, otherwise they probably wouldn't shut in the middle, or if they did, they wouldn't be, you wouldn't have a few folds, you don't have it perfectly straight. So I had to, why is he going so close to my ass in a little blue car? I had to go further out than I wanted, because where I wanted to go was where their mess of a hole was, and they screwed about 20 holes on each side, and even if I filled it, it probably would lose strength, so I had to go out a bit. This is into brick, so I can't put a bit of wood on. Some people say they put a beam of wood across the top, but that just looks ugly. Why do you want to have an 8-foot pole of wood on the wall when you just screwed 3 brackets on the wall? There's no need really, so it just collects dust as well. So it is a brick wall, but there's a little gap of plaster, and also it's just crumbly rubbish when you drill into it. So the first, I'm not sure how deep it is, for example 15mm, it goes in well easy into rubbly crumbly plaster, and then it goes into some sort of brick or block. I'm not sure the type of it because it's built years ago, some sort of block work. It does go in quite easy. The only downside is I've only got quite short wall plugs to start with, so what I was doing was pushing one in and then put a second one in, so then it bites into the brick, not into the crumbly plaster on the face. So I managed to get the curtain poles up. A couple of, I'm not sure if it's the curtain or blind, because my holes were so close to their holes, by the time I screwed the screw in tight, the wall plug might have moved a little bit into their mess, so my brackets aren't quite straight or vertical, or, but they're going on, it's worked, it looks decent. You won't even see the brackets behind the curtain anyway, but I have now filled all the holes. I've just got to sand them and then paint over them. So when it comes to the room I'm going to be painting, I'll just do all the mess at the same time, because the walls need sanding, but it's getting there. I've done the curtains, they're all ready, but I've had to take the curtains back off because I was going to, no, that's right, yeah, they're back off now because I filled the holes. I didn't have time to sand and paint the walls before my carpets went in, so that's what I've been doing the last few days, prepping for the carpet, because I had the carpet booked in for yesterday and I could have postponed it, but I thought once he's booked, I don't really want to mess him around, and I don't want to jiggle my diary around to have another day where I got to stay in the house. So I did put a bit of pressure on myself. I thought I could sand and paint all the rooms and get it all done before the painters, but I couldn't do it. I did spend a couple of nights wide awake all night, but I failed in finishing the challenge. So I've still got to sand the holes down. Hopefully if I hold the hoover up close to it, I won't make too much of a mess. But just because you've got new carpets, it doesn't mean you can't ever decorate now ever again. It's not ideal painting and decorating straight after I've brand new carpets, but ideally you'd want to make the mess before you got them in. But the main job's done. I don't make much of a mess painting. Maybe a bit of flicker from the ceiling from the roller, and I don't normally drip any, but I'll make sure I put a sheet down and do it carefully. The sanding on the holes shouldn't be too bad because I use a hoover. The one wall in my bedroom is like in the hallway where the big nightmare. I was going around the room preparing to paint the hallway, and I had a scraper and I was getting rid of some old flaky plaster and paint and stuff, and then a bit of paint peeled off, and before you know it, loads peeled off. Long story short, I had to peel the whole wall. I got a standing knife to go around the edges, so I didn't have to do all the room, I just did that one wall. But I think what's happened is they've had the house re-plastered. Maybe not the living room, because that was okay. I had about 20 different layers of different colours of paint in the living room, but definitely on the hallway, on this one wall, they've had it re-plastered, maybe 2 coats of plaster, and they haven't used a mist coat, so basically they haven't watered down the paint on the first coat of paint, and the paint just didn't adhere to the plaster. The wall's nice and shiny, probably a good coat of plaster, but the paint just flaked straight off. I did try and use a wallpaper steamer to steam the paint off, because that does work quite well, but then a bit of moisture got under the plaster and the plaster started flaking off as well. So I think what they've done is 2 coats of skin plaster, and they haven't used a bonding agent or scored the surface, so it hasn't adhered to the 2 coats. So basically I might just have a floating wall of plaster ready to fall off, and on top of that a floating coat of paint ready to fall off. So I spent a day taking all that old paint off. I've done a good mist coat on top of that with undercoat primer on the first coat, a proper coat of undercoat primer on the second coat, and then I've done a Dulux, what's it called? It's matte emulsion, but it's the wipeable tough stuff paint on the hallways. So when people are walking up there with the coats and their bags, if they make a mark on the wall with fingerprints as well, hopefully it's ready to wipe it down a bit easier. Probably could have used a eggshell or just a silky type of paint, but I went for this wipeable paint. So I've never used this one before. A little bit more expensive than matte emulsion, but it's better than having to repaint your house every couple of years, because I've got a white hallway. The bad news is the bedroom's done the same thing. When I was drilling holes for my curtain poles in my bedroom, the paint's flaked off. I'm not too sure about the other 2 bedrooms, but if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up having to scrape every single room off. What I'm going to do is, in my bedroom, like I did in the hallway, I'm going to get a Stanley knife and run it around the edge of that one wall, and then hopefully, with a bit of care, I shouldn't have to do anything else on the other 3 walls and the ceiling as well. Just that one wall. I'll take it all off. There's no point of painting on top of rubbish, knowing that in a year or two we'll have to do it all again and it flakes off. So I want to get a good job. It's my house, it's my room. I'm going to take that off and do it properly. The ceiling in my room does need doing. Not skimming all of it, but attention, there's a bit of crack where the plasterboard in. You can see straight lines. There's a couple of hairline cracks come in, so I'll sort them out. I've got 3 new types of plaster I'm using now. Instead of the normal poly filler that you make yourself or ready mixed, I got this hard grey filler. If I want to do a hole in the wall where I might want to drill into it at some other points, I got this white smoothing stuff for shallower little scratches and scores and things. It's almost like a liquid. It goes on well easy. You can leave a little tiny layer and hardly needs any sanding. And then thirdly, I've got a ready mix plaster fixer. It was white, not like pink skin plaster. It's pure white. It went on quite easy, but you can do like quite a deep depth as well. So if I got any holes in my walls, not holes like drill holes, but if I do mess up and plaster falls off a big area, then I get my plastering trowels out and I can go over that. So it's all ready mixed. So I'm pretty much sorted for any job. The little bedroom, I've noticed not all the walls, but I think it's only 2 of the walls. 2 of the walls have got a coating of wallpaper. Now it could be the walls are rubbish and they couldn't afford to plaster them. So if I do take the wallpaper off, I could be left with a nightmare of plaster underneath. It could be that the plaster's fallen off. So if I do start taking it off, I'll pull the plaster off. Because the steaming in the hallway pulled the plaster off. So I'd have to end up fixing all of it, but I don't have to do the whole wall. Or the third option could be, if it was used for like a nursery, maybe they just put on a decorative wallpaper, I don't know, animals, fluffy lambs or something, rabbits, and then the next people just painted over it. It could be that. So we're not really sure. The only thing is, though, there is a couple of lumps on the wall. Now, if they're on top of the paper or under the paper, when I start sanding it, it's going to rip the paper. So I'm not really sure what the finish is going to look like. If I sand it, it becomes rough, and I start filling over top of the paper. Will I be left with a visible mark where the paper's all ripped and torn? So that's a bit of an issue. So I was up late at night trying to get this done, and I knew I was no way going to finish it all. So what I wanted to do was paint the skirting boards at least, because the skirting boards are knackered. Like, somebody's gone round to them where there's skim on them, there's plaster on them, there's filler on them, they painted with a big massive thick brush and haven't off their paint, so it's just big thick run marks and paintbrush marks. So really I'd want to sand them all down, but I got no time to do that because the carpet man was there yesterday, so I had to go with it. I thought, well, it looks rubbish anyway, at least if I paint over it, it'll look rubbish but whiter. But it'll be easier for me to do the next coat of paint because I won't have to get the bottom, like the bottom 10-20 mils where the carpet is. Normally what I do is stick some green fog tape on the carpet and then ram it down under the skirting board. But these skirting boards are right to the floorboards, so there'll be no hope of that. But with the new carpet, it'll be all fluffy, and it's got quite a thick carpet, so I don't want to get my tape stuck to it. I don't want to get paint on the new carpet. So I thought if I do at least one coat of skirting board paint, it might freshen up a little bit and I might get away with it. In the future I can maybe get a little bit of sandpaper and carefully rub it, and then just do the top half of the skirting board. It might be alright, so that's what I went for. So I've done the skirting boards all round, not in the living room or the kitchen, just the carpeted areas. So the 3 bedrooms, the top of the stairs, yeah, I've done them in a coat of satin. They do look whiter. Because I haven't painted the rooms yet, normally I do my woodwork last. I start at the top, ceiling first, walls, and then skirting board. Because now if I make any runs on my wall, it's going to run onto the paint. But obviously, like I said, I don't make much of a mess anyway. And then, but why did I rushed? I thought, well, there's no need to cut in now because I haven't done the walls yet. So I just splashed it across the skirting boards. I didn't mind if it went on the floorboards or not, and I didn't mind if it went on the wall or not either. So I didn't go crazy. I made sure I brushed it off so there's no big thick fat marks, no brush marks on the wall. But I went up like 20 mils up, so at least now when I cut in, I've only got one layer cutting in to do. Just run my wall paint across the lip of the skirting board. Skirting boards are quite easy to do because they weren't the fancy shaped skirting boards. They're just not square. They've got a bit of a smooth edge to them, but it's quite easy then just to go straight across. That's what I've been doing. So I have got another story to tell. So I'm just going to pop home for a second, and then I'll go into my video number 2, and I'll talk about my nightmare from hell. I did make a little video on Instagram, but I'll do a video for this upload for this channel. Give me a minute and I'll be back for video number 2.